Hi friends! Today's video is day 3 of my 7-day Christmas card series for 2022. If you've missed day 1 and day 2, I'll put the links for that in the description down below for you. And the card designs that I'm going to share with you today are geared towards mass producing. So if you need to make a whole bunch of cards at once, these are designs and card layouts that I tend to gravitate to year after year. They work for birthday cards, thank you cards, all occasion cards, but today of course we're focusing on Christmas because I want to give you some more ideas for your Christmas card making this year. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's get stamping. So I am bringing in my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. I have a piece of basic white cardstock that measures 8.5 by 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at the 4 1/4 mark and at the 5.5 mark. So you may see some of the cards that I share with you in today's video that you've seen before. Some of these may seem familiar because I have shared them, but that's because these, like I said earlier, these are designs I gravitate to when I need to make a lot of cards in a hurry. And hopefully the light's okay because it is a dark, dreary, cold day. It's been trying to snow. Oh my gosh. So hopefully the lighting's not too bad, you guys. Now I'm gonna use leaves of holly for this. So some of the stamp sets I've been demonstrating with in the last couple of videos, but I'm just loving them, and these are sets that I want to use on my own personal Christmas cards, of course. So I'm just going to bring in a block. Now this is a 2-step stamp set. Most of you are probably familiar with that concept, but basically it means you've got an outline stamp and you have the inside stamp that you stamped inside. So that it does all the coloring for you. They line right up. So I like to start with the outline stamps first and then fill them in. So I'm going to use the bigger holly leaf first. And because I'm using photopolymer, they always work best with the piercing mat underneath. So I'm going to concentrate in the center of this cardstock. Okay, so I've got my score lines. This is my center bit. So let's stick my stamp on. And I'm going to use a darker green for the outline stamps and a lighter green for the second layer of the stamp. The ink colors I've chosen are Garden Green and Old Olive. So let's start with the Garden Green. I'm trying to remember the name of this technique. I believe it's a 2-4 split card, I think. Okay, so I have stamped diagonally. That one wasn't fully inked. That's okay. You know me, I don't stress the small stuff. So I'm really not inking this up really good, am I? Do that again. That's better. Now I'm coming in with the smaller holly. If your photopolymer stamps stop sticking, it means that they're dirty or they've picked up powder. Just run them underneath the tap and then dry them. And I actually find, because some stamps are small, I'll use my colander and just put them in that, and then I'm not losing them when I'm cleaning them. So just a little something I thought I'd share. Looks going to be overlapping a bit here. Bring in my scrap paper here because I'm going to go off and I don't want ink on my piercing mat. So now I'm just going to pull some of the images off on the side. I'm just turning around. So basically I am stamping inside the panels a little bit. Whoops. There we go. That one's smudged, but that's okay. Now it's time to do the inside portion of those holly leaves. Okay, so I've got my big stamp again, but this is the solid image, the second layer to this card, to the stamp I should say, and I'm using the Old Olive this time. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this panel in half. So it doesn't matter if you cut at the 5.5 mark or the 4.25 mark. What you're going to be doing is cutting this to basically make 2 cards. So let's just cut it down at the 4.25 mark. So this is a 1-layer card. So I know I have stamped images on both sides, but that's fine. I like having the decorations on the back. And I'm pulling in Very Best Occasions, and I'm going to emboss with gold. So before I stamp it down, I'm going to tap on my embossing buddy. And I'm going to bring in my Versa marking pad. Changed my mind for the second one. The second one, I'm going to stamp it with real red. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my gold powder for this one and emboss it. You know, the sentiment actually works really well because it has holly on it. So I'm going to pull in my garden green marker and color in that holly. And even though this is red, I'm going to color it in too, but I'm going to do Old Olive for this one. Bring in my real red marker, color in those berries. The gold embossing really steps up this very, very simple basic card. So that's why I wanted to do the gold. But if you don't have heat embossing, I wanted to show you how you could just use stamp 2. And you're like, well, there's still a lot of space. We're not done yet. We're not done. I am going to add some berries with the coordinating die cuts that go with this stamp set. So I'm bringing in my little mini, and I am going to use the 2 dies. So I'm not going to do any stamping for this. I'm actually going to just cut these out with my cardstock. So I have real red and I have my gold. And the second one. And then I'm just going to glue the 2 pieces together with a little bit of my liquid glue. It really adds a lot to this very simple but pretty card. So now I'm going to bring in my ribbon. This is my gold vanilla ribbon. I'm just going to wrap it around, and I'm just going to tie it in a knot. I'm just going to put another glue dot down just to kind of hold my ribbon in place. And then to finish my card, I'm going to add some iridescent gems, which I seem to be completely addicted to this year. And I'm just going to place the different size gems randomly. We'll do these gems on one and do a different gem on the other, just so you can see the difference. These are part of our framed and festive bundle that's available this month, but this is going to pull out some of that gold, and I got an ink mark right there, so that's going there to cover that up. So there are 2 Christmas cards, easy, fast, 1-layer card, and of course all I need to do is stamp my sentiment on the inside. I just haven't chosen my sentiment yet, but just a nice Christmas sentiment, sign it, stamp the envelopes to coordinate, and away they go. So that is simple. You can use so many different stamp sets for this technique. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to speed up the video for my next card. Same technique, but we're going to use Christmas season so you can see the difference. There are my 2 cards. I did no embossing, but I really love this stamp set. This one's pretty too, but I wanted to show you how you can take like a very basic 1-layer card, the 2-step stamping, add some ribbon, the die cuts, but this is just as gorgeous, if maybe not even prettier. I really like this one, but I'm really partial to this stamp set. 2-step stamping, I use soft suede, early espresso, and then I stuck with the same colors, garden green, and old olive, and then the real red. Very simple. You could add ribbon to this. I'm not. I'm going to keep these exactly as they are. Just stamp my sentiment. I'll stamp on my little hand stamped by on the back of my card, and again stamp my envelopes to match. So that is a very simple layout for making a couple cards at once. Alternatively, you could stamp all 4 panels, cut them down to 4 by 5 1/4, and put them on 4 card bases, and then you have 4 Christmas cards. All right, so I have some fresh coffee, and I am ready to move on to some more fast mass-producing cards. And I'm going to bring in some. I'll bring in a piece of basic white and a piece of fairy vanilla. These are going to be my card bases. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in. I'm going to score down at 4 1/4 and cut it at 5 1/2. Whoops. There we go. So there's 2 card bases. Do the same thing with the white. And this card is going to be using Designer Series paper. The Designer Series paper is doing all of the artwork. The only stamping on these cards, you guys, is the sentiment. So this is mega fast. This is one of the ways I make a whole lot of birthday cards and stuff when I need a bunch in a hurry. The Designer Series paper I'm going to use on the first 2 cards is from Celebrate Everything. This is a free pack of paper you can get with the qualifying order. Look at all the paper in this and all the different patterns and holidays. Let's pull this one out. Like mega awesome pack of paper. okay? And I already have a piece here like that, so we will use that piece. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this down to measure 3 3/4 by 5. So you can get a lot of cards out of one 12 by 12 piece of designer series paper. Okay, so you can, of course, go ahead, glue these to your card base, put a sentiment, piece of ribbon embellishment if you want, and you're done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them all up, and I'm going to line this up. Actually, we'll do 2 at a time. I'm going to line this up at the 1 3/4 mark, because I don't want this to be exactly in half. Cut that. And then this outside piece, I'm going to turn it around and cut this at 1 1/2. Now, 1 3/4. You can cut these whatever size you want, as long as you keep them all together. So you see, I just kind of like stack them on top of each other. Going to put them on the side there, and do the same thing here. Oops. So 1 3/4 lengthwise. And then this outside piece I'm going to cut also at 1 3/4. Okay. I'm going to combine both patterns. Now you don't have to, these are double-sided, you can just use the one pattern, but I want to incorporate both of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack these so that these are all the same pieces, right? Like that. Let's move my coffee so I can get everything in here so you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to glue it on, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap. And then I'm going to take this piece, glue that on, also leaving a gap. And then this piece, I'm going to use the pink. I'm just lining them up. So I'm going to do that for the remaining cards, and I'm going to change the patterns around, but the concept's exactly the same. Now, if you wanted to, I should mention, you could definitely put a different card layer. In fact, maybe I'll get one here just to show you. I have a piece of Pear Pizzazz, a card base from the other day, so I'm just going to cut this down to measure 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to glue these onto this so you can see what that looks like. Was not cut right, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to make it work, and then I'm going to glue this onto my card base. Okay. So with the cardstock and with just the white card base, both are pretty. So I'm going to do that with the Fairy Vanilla. That made 4 super fast card bases, and they're all super pretty, whether you use this way whether you use another layer of cardstock, or if you just use your basic white or Fairy Vanilla for your card base. The designer series paper doing all the work. All I'm going to do now is add a sentiment. So you could use dies, you could use punches. I'm going to use my double oval punch, and I've just got a scrap piece of shaded spruce. So I'm just going to do all the same. And then I have a piece of scrap white. And what I like to do is make this narrow. Get a narrow strip here. And then just slide this in and punch out my ovals. And of course you can stamp first and then punch it out. But if you're mass producing, you might want to like punch everything all at once and then it's all ready to rumble there for you. So the sentiment I'm going to use is the Merry Christmas. That's part of Cottage Wreaths because that's going to fit inside this oval perfectly. In this stamp set, there's little tiny holly and berries. I can't not use them because they're just too cute. So I'm going to do that with the, I'm going to pull in this color, which I believe is Granny Apple Green. And now I'm going to glue these onto my shaded spruce. I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere these to the front of my cards. You can see I put some in different spots. And then to finish the card, I'm going to add some ribbon. So I've gone ahead and made a couple of ribbon bows using this gold vanilla ribbon, but if bows aren't your thing, you could just easily make a knot as well. You can also use our twine ribbon. These are from the new In colors. So because all these colors are in this paper, I'm going to use all of them. Well, all three that I pulled out here. So there are my cards. So the last technique that I'm going to share with you today for mass producing, one of my favorite ways of mass producing is inking up our blocks to create a background. So this is, I'm going to be making 4 cards here. So I'm cutting my basic white cardstock down to 4 by 5 1/4. And this is an old technique. It's been around for years. Whoops, 5 1/4. Which, wait, is that 4? Yep. But I always say, I know there's new stampers out there, and we think everybody has seen all the techniques, right? But that's not true. Not everybody has seen all the techniques. So if these are techniques new to you, I hope that you're getting lots of inspiration, or maybe if they're not new to you, it'll remind you of some of these fun ways of creating. So you want to make sure your blocks are really clean. So I just put some StazOn cleaner on this block, and I'm just wiping it because I've got ink, I've got glue, all the oils that come off our fingers naturally. Okay, so I have a really good clean block. So for all of these cards, I'm going to stick with Tahitian Tide and Starry Sky. So I'm going to, let's do it this way. I'm going to ink up the top half and then ink up the bottom half and try to remove that cat fur, because if you have fur, it's going to pick up on your image. And I know some of you have critters in your house like we do. So now I'm using a water spritzer. This is just plain water. Let me move all my cards out of the way because I will inevitably get ink on them. So I'm going to spritz right onto this block. And I'm going to bring, where's my piercing mat? Here it is. I'm going to bring my piercing mat in because this will make a difference. And I'm just going to flip this over and stamp it down. See how it just kind of like does its thing. Now this is beautiful with watercolor cardstock, but I know not everybody has watercolor cardstock. So I'm just giving it a second to soak in. Watercolor cardstock, I must say, is beautiful with this technique, guys. You get a whole different look. I'm just going to pull that off. There's my background. So I'm going to repeat that with the other the other three. I'm going to wipe this clean every time. And I'm going to, you want to use your light ink first, and then put your darker ink so that you don't contaminate that ink pad with the other ink. So you want those to dry thoroughly before the next step. So you can just use your heat tool or let them dry as is. I'm going to go wash my hands. So these are dry. I've let them sit for a bit. And I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus now. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can finish this. Let me show you the finished cards. That one, very, very simple. You could emboss in gold, white, but I'm just trying to give you some different ideas on how you can use this very fast background. The background is really easy. It's once you figure out what you want to do with that background, once you know what your design is going to be, these cards take no time at all. Okay, and then another tree where I've added the snow, added a little banner. And then the snowflakes. This was a little afterthought because I wanted to hide where I kind of didn't have all that ink behind it, but I do like that extra embellishment. I added a few more rhinestones. Very simple. And then another simple card. So that was a lot of cards, but each way that I've shown you, whether you're using the designer series papers or if you're using the 2-4 split way that I made 2 cards out of 1 piece of cardstock, or if you're using your inks on your block, your acrylic block stamping technique, they're all really, really fast. I just wanted to share with you some of the ways you could use these fast techniques. And again, once you've picked your design, you can just pop on your Christmas music and have all kinds of beautiful cards made in no time at all. So I hope you've got lots of great inspiration today. I now have 12, I believe, about 12 cards made for my Christmas cards this year, and I can't wait to come back tomorrow for day 4 of our Christmas card series. And for tomorrow's card, I'm going to share with you a couple of fun fold cards that are quick and easy and really, really pretty that you might like to incorporate in your Christmas card making this year. And again, don't forget, these are great layouts and designs for all occasion cards year-round just by changing up your stamps and your designer series papers. So I hope you have a lot of fun stamping. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.